New York Giants rookie quarterback Jaxson Dart will be a good quarterback at the NFL level. How good is going to be the huge question that Dart has to answer over the next 12 months and even into the future. But I've personally seen enough in 2 preseason games and in training camp to plant my flag that Dart will at least be a solid quarterback in the National Football League. And making this declaration before his first even real NFL game could be seen as a hot take, but I will seamlessly explain it to you why it is not. And we really just have to look at the past few quarterbacks that got picked very high in the draft and past year's drafts. You have somebody like Anthony Richardson, you have somebody like Trey Lance, you have somebody like Zach Wilson. They never showed as much promise as Dart did in the preseason or training camp, and you didn't see the fundamental things that are needed to succeed as a quarterback at the next level. And while those guys were mainly drafted for their physical talent, their ability to run around the field, having a big arm to make every single throw, they simply showed that they could not play the quarterback position, which means you stay in the confines of the pocket, you go through your reads, can process the defense, and simply run an NFL offense. We saw very early on that those guys could simply not do that. And with Jaxson Dart, I think you get both of those elements. We've seen his physical talent. He has a plus arm. He can maneuver inside and out of the pocket as well. But the thing that I've been most impressed with, and we saw it a ton at Ole Miss, is his ability to stay in the pocket, not be scared of taking a huge hit, and in the face of pressure, being able to deliver a strike down the field. He did it a couple times this past weekend against the New York Jets. He did it on his touchdown pass against the Buffalo Bills. When there's a 300-pound lineman with a clear shot to hit him right in the chest, and it doesn't faze him at all. He stands tall in the pocket and throws a perfect pass down the field. And this all goes back to the same thing I keep saying. If you want to be a good quarterback in the NFL, you have to be able to win from the pocket. We saw Dart do it for multiple years in the SEC, and those skills are translating to the NFL. The overwhelming criticism and worry with Dart was his ability to process defenses, because the Lane Kiffin offense for Ole Miss is not some super complex system where Dart is going to his second and third read a ton. It's a lot of manufacturing reads and just getting Dart to his first read, and Kiffin just saying, okay, Dart, snap the ball, throw it here, and we're going to get a first down or more. And obviously, once you get to the NFL, your first read is not always going to be open. So that was the concern. If Dart's first read is not open, how is Dart going to be able to process that and be able to function in a real NFL offense and not some college spread system? And while we still don't know the extent of how well Dart's going to be able to read defenses, I do credit Brian Daboll for how he's utilized Dart when he's played in the preseason. If you notice, a lot of the early completions and downs for Dart are a lot of screen passes that Daboll is simply drawing up. Little jailbreak screens to the wide receivers, some dump offs to the tight ends and running back, and it's just giving Dart some confidence and easing him into the game, which I love from a coach. When you have a young quarterback who is raw in certain areas like Dart, it's very important to build him up and help out his confidence. So Daboll has been doing that by calling a lot of screen passes, but he's also allowing Dart to do things that he's very comfortable with. Operate an empty with 5 wide receivers out wide. He did that a ton at Ole Miss. Those small little things are very important to maintain while they do develop the other areas of Dart's game. And so I wanted to give Daboll a little bit of credit, because I know he's been catching a lot of arrows from Giants fans and even people in the media for the past couple of seasons for the Giants. But I think with what he did in Buffalo and what he did in his first year in New York, winning Coach of the Year, I do think he knows what he's doing, especially developing a quarterback. And that is why I'm at least betting on Dart to be a successful pick and just be at least a solid quarterback. Through his first 2 preseason games, he's 26 of 35 for 320 total yards, 3 total touchdowns, 0 turnovers, and a 117.7 passer rating. I would like to point out that the people who are not high on Dart coming into the NFL draft really have begun to dissect his performances and say, he's been throwing a lot of screens, these stats don't really matter a ton. And while to an extent I did just mention that's how the Giants have been easing him into these preseason games, we have also seen a number of high-level throws from Dart already, which I think kind of overshadow some of those checkdowns and design screen narratives. I mentioned the touchdown against the Buffalo Bills. He had a couple of really nice intermediate throws against the New York Jets as well. So sure, you can say Dart hasn't made some Josh Allen-esque plays in his first 2 ever NFL games, but as I mentioned earlier in this video, there's a lot to like with his early NFL action. Again, he was viewed as a very raw prospect, and I think you're seeing that Dart's floor may not be as low as many suspected. His operation has also been very clean in the Giants offense. It seems like he's running Daboll's scheme very effectively, and something that the Giants offense can get with Dart and instead of somebody like Russell Wilson is the design quarterback runs, and we have also seen those in the preseason as well, which has been pretty cool to see. While Dart isn't the fastest and most athletic guy in the world, I definitely think he has enough juice to be able to run some design quarterback runs, pick up some first downs, and also just be a threat with his legs. The big question now is, when is Dart gonna get on the field? Daboll has been very stern from day one that Russell Wilson is this team's starting quarterback, and he will be taking the first snap for the Giants this season. He again said after Dart's second really impressive preseason game that Russ is our starter and we're going to keep developing Jaxson. He also said he's still got a lot to learn, but he's growing every day. That's why we drafted him. We spent a lot of time with him. I have a lot of confidence in the young man. He's done a good job for us since he's been here in every area you could do. Off the field, on the field, leadership, moxie, intelligence. He continued and said, we have a plan. We had a plan a while ago at a previous stop. We have a plan for this quarterback. It's specific to each quarterback that you have. They have to possess the traits that you covet, that you look for in the draft. I think you've just got to keep working with him and understand that there's going to be a lot of downs. I know there's some ups right now, but there's going to be a lot of downs, and we've just got to keep growing, communicating, and just keep getting better. And I'm a fan of this process for the Giants. There's no need to rush start, but my only concern with that is if they get off to a bad start this season, which is pretty likely due to how hard their schedule is. I do wonder if the pressure just begins to mount from the fan base and even ownership to see Dart play, because from every indication, general manager Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are on the hot seat. And simply put, if I was a fan of the Giants, if I was the owner of the team, I would not want to watch Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston take snaps if our season is practically already over. There comes a point when you need to see what the young quarterback has and if he can be the quarterback of the future, if you need to use your next first round pick on another quarterback or somebody to help him succeed. That's why I still maintain the mindset that Dart will easily start probably 5+ games for the Giants in 2025. And whether it's fair or not, how he performs in this small sample size this upcoming season will largely determine if he is the quarterback moving forward for the Giants or not. You have to imagine if an entirely new regime comes in, the Giants have a top pick in next year's draft, they're going to want to roll the dice and take another young quarterback to develop. And that is why this upcoming season is so important for the Giants organization and Jaxson Dart's future as well in New York. And I do believe if he is forced into action, the situation around him will be good enough for him to succeed. The Giants have one of the best receivers already in the NFL in Malik Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton are just solid receiving options that can just get the job done. And while the offensive line has some solid pieces, it's usually in flux because Andrew Thomas, their all-pro tackle, he really can't stay healthy, but he did just return to practice. So hopefully if Dart does get on the field, Thomas is able to play because he would make that offensive line way better. And we already know about New York's defense and their absurd defensive line, so we also would have a defense to lean on, which I do think can help out a young quarterback as well. But in my personal opinion, I think regardless if he spends his entire career with the Giants or if he does go somewhere after this year, I would bet on Dart to be a functional and good quarterback in the NFL. I seriously don't see him playing himself out of the league like Anthony Richardson has. He's now the backup quarterback for the former Giants quarterback Daniel Jones, or ending up like Trey Lance or Zach Wilson, who have played for multiple teams now, are just going to be backup journeyman quarterbacks the rest of their career. Dart simply has skills from the pocket that all of those guys don't, and his off-script playmaking and how he can begin to process defenses is going to determine his ceiling. But I think even if he doesn't become some wizard in reading defensive coverages, I think he'll be a guy that sticks around in the league for a while, is a starter for a long time as well. And when you can get a player like that at the end of the first round who does also have the ability to be developed and have a pretty high ceiling, I think it's worth it every single time, especially when you see teams year in and year out take flyers on top 5 pick quarterbacks and they aren't even the team's starting quarterback in a handful of seasons down the road. So I'm a big fan of what Jaxson Dart has done early on. I think the Giants have found themselves their franchise quarterback, but I'll be keeping a close eye in the next preseason game and early in the regular season because I think it's a matter of when, not if, we see Jaxson Dart suit up as quarterback 1 for Big Blue. But I want to know what you think about Dart in the comment section below. Do you agree with me and think he's been very impressive so far during the preseason, or do you think he's being a little bit overhyped? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, as less than 2% of you who watch these videos are subscribed, which is insane. I'm dropping a ton of preseason and training camp news, so make sure you don't miss another video. And also drop a like if you did enjoy it. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.